Hi, Charles. How's it going today?
Oh man, I'm glad to be back on the Lee Gerson show. And folks, to give you a disclaimer, this was one I picked,
Yeah,
but I picked it because I remember a long, long time ago, the esteemed host of the show had said something positive about this album. So
yeah,
I do that every now and then. He might forget that he tells me things, or maybe not. But
yeah,
I'm not sure in this case. But I was thinking maybe he forgot, and we hadn't done this album. It's an artist that I fucking love. Um, Most people should. If you're not, you're an idiot. And so, what are we doing today on the Lee Gerson show?
we're doing John Lennon and Plastic Ono Band's Live Peace in Toronto album, 1969.
If I am not mistaken. I don't want to give away every. I'm sure maybe some tracks hit a little different or something like that. But you pretty much hold this album in high regard.
Pretty
I'm
much.
not. Yeah, I'm not afraid for them, for the folks to know that. And I'm a John Lennon guy.
Yeah,
If you ask me who my favorite Beatle is, it's Lennon.
yeah,
But it's a 1A, 1B. McCartney's right there though.
yeah. Did
But
you?
this is huh?
You didn't hear the album when it first came out, did you?
No, I wasn't born.
Yeah, I was around and we had the album and I used to listen to it.
Hell, I think fuck, what would have been out? Maybe no, I don't know about Band on the Run. Maybe? I don't know what came out in '74 from you guys,
I
but
don't know, but I think that McCartney's Wildlife might have been out.
yeah, maybe. Yeah. Um but as much as I love Lennon, I'm usually a little more McCartney as a solo artist.
Yeah.
But technically, the Beatles weren't broken up yet when this came, when they did this appearance in
Yeah.
Canada. And somebody called John Lennon, said, "Do you want to come MC this old time rock review, whatever show in Toronto?" And he said, "Hell, why don't I just come play?"
Mm.
And they said, "Okay." And they hired Kim Fowley, who wrote King of the Nighttime World, and
Yeah.
did the Runaways and all that. Well, he did them. I don't know. That might be too nice to say.
Yeah.
But he emceed the show. And then Lennon was like, fuck, I don't have a band.
Huh.
So he called up his good buddy Eric Clapton from what were they called on the rock and roll circus?
Dirty Mac.
With the keeper. The Dirty Mac, his Dirty Mac alumnus. We got Klaus Voormann from Hamburg, played on a lot of Lennon stuff. And he just called Alan White from Yes. He was like, this isn't John Lennon, and hung up on him.
Huh.
And then Lennon called back and said, no, for real.
Huh.
They never rehearsed except on the plane.
Yeah.
That's insane, right?
That sounds a little weird.
Right.
I would like
They
to hope
never,
that at least they were in the plane and not balancing on the wheels.
no, they were flying to Toronto, playing
Yeah.
unplugged guitars and trying to figure out songs and arrangements. And
But I mean, while the plane's riding, if they had balanced on the wheels outside, that would have been pretty nutty.
oh yeah, even crazier.
Yeah.
But that just blows my mind that they decided to rehearse on an airplane. I think Clapton said he had about 3 or 4 hours to make the flight or something like that. Like, okay, we'll fucking do it. And
Yeah.
I think the biggest complaint I have of Lennon's solo stuff, typically,
Yeah.
is usually too much Yoko Ono.
Yeah.
And she's prominent on some of the work here.
It's kind of like saying, some hamburger places like to put a little chocolate sauce on their hamburger, but this one place only puts in maybe one half of a teaspoon, whereas this other place poured on a whole cupful,
Yeah,
and so you've got like a whole cupful of her.
yeah. And, another interesting thing I
Yeah.
learned, there are going to be 2 Yoko tracks, folks.
Yeah.
We'll have to review. Cool. Buckle up for that. But
Yeah, and I
I
have plenty to
noticed,
say about them.
yeah, but I noticed there's a lot of live albums from this concert. Some of the old time rockers. I'd like to check that. We don't have to review them, obviously, but I was like, wow, they did a lot of stuff. The Doors were at this show.
Oh, okay.
They closed the concert, the Doors, and so it'd be an interesting one to find stuff on. But
yeah.
so we got John Lennon, Eric Clapton, Klaus Borman, Alan White, and Yoko Ono. The Plastic Ono Band. Of course, John Lennon, incomparable, greatest Beatle ever. We miss you, John. But I was excited to do this because John Lennon can sing commercial jingles or something. I'd review it. It doesn't matter. I'm a big John Lennon guy. But,
yeah.
But you got any thoughts about the album?
Yeah, well, I know that it was an album that was in very high regard with everyone that I knew, except only very, very few people at all even try to play 10 seconds of side 2 just to see if their suspicions were confirmed, and so they were. So it was considered to be one of the best half albums out there. But I actually would make a go of listening to those songs so I could be like the one person who did. And of course, I would play it maybe on low volume or with headphones so that I wouldn't bother my family. But I heard them, and yeah, and there's other things that I can say about those songs when we get to them. But yeah, so there.
All right.
Do you want to start?
Sure. All right.
All right. What do you think of Blue Suede Shoes?
Yeah, as I mentioned, Kim Fowley, he's the MC, and he announces it. This one takes a little bit to get started again, because the band only rehearsed on the airplane on the way over. Lennon seems a bit nervous here. They hadn't done, he did no live performing really since San Francisco, '66. But, I just wonder why he chose to do it, but he did do it. Lennon almost feigns Helter Skelter for a second. And then we finally, with his guitar work, and then we finally get into Blue Suede Shoes. I'll tell you what, when you're good, you're good. And for a band never playing together, they smoke right through this Carl Perkins classic, rockin' version of the song.
All right, I put very cool opening song, and the couple of minutes of warm-up also sound cool. Like I'm right here ready to hear them play. It's very good. And now for Money. The guitar tone is great, and the song has a lot of meat in it, and I like it. The very few times I ever picked up my room, this was good room picking up music. It energized me so I could put stuff away. Very cool song. What do you think?
Man, Clapton damn near turns this one into a metal tune. It's slow, it's that sludgy. And while you can tell they're a bit under-rehearsed, and Lennon does struggle a bit vocally at times, Clapton steps up with some great guitar work. And this one does rock really hard. I wouldn't say as good as the Beatles live versions, but I like the rawness and power to this one.
Okay, what do you think of Dizzy Miss Lizzie?
So far, I think Lennon's vocal performance is the strongest out of the tune so far on this one. And while it's also raw and rocks pretty hard, believe it or not, I think Harrison played this better than Clapton. I'm not sure the super amped up version works as much for me, but I do know I wouldn't have been pissed watching and listening to this live. A solid version that Lennon actually shines on more, and I could have done without Yoko though on the song.
Okay. I will tell you that when I first heard it on the original album, this song I couldn't hear her vocals, but what I say is this is quite good, and even though it's not one of my favorite songs, I do like the way they play it. Also, on the remastered version, which I heard, I could hear Yoko doing background vocals for a moment, but they're very low in the mix. It makes me wonder if her vocals were louder during the event. Anyway, they're so low in the mix, she doesn't ruin the song. Okay, kind of like it was only one tiny little bit of chocolate sauce on the hamburger, so after I spit it out, the rest was good. Anyway, the next song is Your Blues. This was not my favorite song by the Beatles at all, but it's one of my favorites on this album. The way they play it here, I really dig it, and I still think it's really good. What do you think?
Yeah, the only Beatles number on this album and that performance, and it has probably been due to Clapton having actually played it live with Lennon in the Dirty Mac. Yeah, I don't necessarily agree. This one seemed a bit amiss. I think the Dirty Mac version was better. There's timing issues. Lennon struggles vocally. And there's certainly a better version out there than this sloppy version that missed the mark for me.
All right. Well, what do you think of Cold Turkey?
There are elements of this version here that is pretty good, but nowhere near as good as the sparse studio single. Hell, Lennon even mentioned never having done it live before, so that would have been, this first tape live. Yoko tries to fuck it up, but she doesn't somehow. He didn't seem to know the words either. But hell, it doesn't matter. People are jazzed just to be seeing Lennon, I'm sure. It's interesting historically, but it doesn't hold a candle to the studio version for me. And I've heard of it live in New York City at MSG too. I don't like the arrangement live. I just prefer the studio version.
Okay, put my favorite song on the album. Great rocking piece with a lot of attitude, and Yoko Ono's background vocals give it color and make it cool. I like it a lot. Very fine song. Then again, I heard it when I was about 7 or 6, so I guess I have to be a little kid in order to like it. Anyway, the next song is Give Peace a Chance. On the original vinyl album, I was not the biggest fan of this song. I would hear it and I didn't totally dislike it, but I like it better now, where the audience doesn't fade out because it's the last song on side 1. It's a basic chord structure and nothing special, but it's okay and not a bad song. What do you think?
Yeah, an interesting full-out electric version of the tune that has a slight reggae feel to the arrangement to the ears. The hippie national anthem in all its glory here. And surprisingly, not so bad here. I like you. I don't really care for the original version, but not so bad here. It's a bit ragged, but it works pretty well, actually, for a song I'm kind of whatever about.
Okay. What do you think?
Side 2. Oh, boy.
Don't worry, Kyoko. Mummy's only looking for her hand in the snow. What do you think?
Well, this does feature a bunch of wailing from Yoko. Musically, thus far, this one is maybe the best sounding track. It has a slight Bo Diddley feel to it, especially in Lennon's rhythm guitar. I honestly can't believe I didn't hate this. Sure, I'd rather hear Lennon singing instead of Yoko screaming, But this actually rocks pretty hard.
Okay, I will say that I've also heard the original studio version of it, and in a way, this is a less subtle version than even that. But I also looked at her when she played it. When I watched the film version, I didn't have the sound on because only once hearing something like this is enough. But she looks like she's thinking its importance and she's really into it. But anyway, this is decent musically, and I'm not really bothered by Yoko Ono singing. But this seems more like a basic blues number, and I think it could have been better. But it's okay, and I like it pretty much. Now for the last song, John John Let's Hope for Peace, which anyone else who had the album didn't even attempt to hear it because they thought that it was just something that if they needed a dish to put under them to eat pizza, they would adjust the album so that the pizza droppings would be on this song. But I heard it, and I also heard the original. And believe it or not, this is kind of more subtle than that. And I saw how she looked while she sang it, and she looked very happy. And she did like facial expressions like she thought of herself as being like a church soul singer. So this is her happy song. But anyway, and then I saw how the last part with the distorted chord that doesn't stop is because John Lennon put his guitar next to the speaker and they walked off on stage and smiled at everyone. And then finally someone must have taken the guitar off. But what I have to say is at this point on the album, I don't think anyone even tried to hear what it might sound like because they figured it would sound exactly like how it does. But I used to hear it because I figured I wanted to respect Yoko by listening to something she felt ought to be on the album. I also heard the studio version and I somewhat like this better. I don't listen to it often, but as an avant-garde electronic composition, I don't think it's bad. Some of it is rather well done, but I do think that last sustaining keyboard part could have been shortened by about a half minute or a minute and a half, and I do think it ought to have been on a different album with electronic music instead of a rock record, but it's unusual and I don't hate it. What do you think?
Yeah, basically a musical country type of thing. It should have been put in a concrete block and thrown in the water. And actually, it isn't much music to it other than some random feedback from the guitars. This could have quite possibly been one of the worst songs I've ever heard in my life. And while I could imagine having been excited for Lennon material that he did, and I even could tolerate Don't Worry Kyoko song, this is just jaw open bad. But they weren't the last band on the bill, like I mentioned, and you can always refresh a beer if you were there. No, it's fucking horrible, but this song. But I will say, if you want to like torturing yourself, even more than the Dog Police, listen to this song. That's torture.
Yeah.
It's not a perfect live album, this album, but it's an interesting one to hear. You know, I'm still a little bit more Wings Over America, or Wings at the Speed of Sound. which documented Wings Over America, but that was touched up in the studio. I will give this album credit. It's totally live. You can tell there was no touch-ups. Maybe some remastering, but no touch-ups. It's raw. It's live. It's worth listening to that if you're a Lennon, Beatles, McCartney, whoever fan.
Yeah.
It's worth listening to that if you never have.
Yeah.
And even the one Yoko song's not terrible, but that last one is like, stabbed me in the ears. I don't want to hear anything ever again.
Yeah.
Then the crowd was booing
Yeah.
by the end, and it's documented. And so it's interesting that Lennon and those guys just smiled at them. They were booing.
Yeah.
But Yoko is an acquired taste. I still don't like it. That's like chocolate and poop on your hamburger.
Yeah.
But she got a couple songs I don't mind, but that last one was horrible. But Lennon wasn't perfect either. When you just do something, decide to get on a plane and 3 hours later play live and hadn't played live in years, that's what you get. But it was still an interesting album to hear, and I'm glad we did it.
Yeah. And I will say, when I listened again for the review, I did listen to the last song second on it. I didn't want to listen to it in order, and I listened to Don't Worry Kyoko fourth. So I sort of went first, last. Anyway.
That might be the way to do it, to tolerate Yoko.
Yeah. All right.
But I do like the song, is it Walking on Thin Ice?
Yeah.
By Yoko. I like that one. I like a song or two by Yoko Ono.
Yeah.
But not many.
Yeah.
Not too many. But that Don't Worry Kyoko. So that was on the Plastic Ono band, but it was the one with Yoko.
Yeah.
Not the John one.
Yeah.
And I haven't listened because I usually object listening to the woman that broke up the Beatles, but I might have to check that album out for my own accord. If that, and you're saying this is kind of as raw as this?
I would have to say you heard the subtle versions here.
Oh,
and both of them are on there.
Well, I don't know about that goddamn John song, but
maybe
the other song,
maybe it's shorter.
That's cool,
but the feedback part is maybe it smiles at you a little more on that one. You know.
Yeah, I might have to actually check that out because I really love the John Plastic Band album.
Yeah.
Still one of my favorite solo albums by any Beatles.
But I will say
in its totality.
Yeah. Some of the songs on her album are kind of a little like laying down on the beach and letting the waves get to you and you fall asleep. And other songs sound like weird, mad people dancing to nutty hard rock stuff. So it depends upon your tolerance.
Well,
all right.
I don't know that. Well, before you leave, we have done McCartney's solo albums.
Yeah.
Now we've done John at least once. We might have done them before, maybe. We ought to do Ringo Buku of Blues someday.
Sure.
Isn't that the country one?
Yeah.
That would be interesting. Yeah, Ringo needs a little love.
Yeah. All right.
I don't think we've got George on his own, but we did Badfinger. We was all over that album, so that was kind of close. Okay. That's about what you get with George, but
yeah.
Either way, I'm glad we did this album because I remembered it was something that you liked a lot, and I probably would have liked it a lot too. So if I would have heard it back then, before Wings at the Speed of Sound.
Yeah.
But I'll still take Wings at the Speed of Sound because sounds great. But It was cleaned up. This is a live, really live album.
Yeah.
So it's probably cooler for that. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
It's cool. And long live John Lennon.
Yeah.
And
All right.
thanks for having me back.
Yeah, thank you, Charles. Okay. Take care, everyone. Bye.